So, so Prabhuji, few days ago, actually, His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrit Swami Maharaj joined Atlanta group here, and he gave a lecture. That day, actually, I could not attend because it was in the morning, I guess. But later, I heard Prabhuji that recording, and in that Prabhuji initially actually shared about his some of his experience with while he was traveling. There's some lady asked him some question, but in the second later part, he shared about Radharani. So the uh, uh, His Grace, His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrit Swami Maharaj actually shared from Chaitanya Charitamrita. He actually shared that he started sharing from Krishna's energy. So he shared that Krishna's energy has three divisions. So first is the Chit Shakti, which is a spiritual potency. Then the second one is Jiva Shakti, which is marginal potency. And the third is Maya Shakti. So then he explained the Chit Shakti. So then he said that the marginal Shakti is the one in which all living entities Maya Shakti. So Prabhuji actually explained
Mataji,
about
your
the Chit
voice is
Shakti.
breaking.
My Prabhuji, I'm sorry, there is some internet problem here.
No
What
problem.
should I do, Prabhuji?
You now. Just come close to where the Wi-Fi is. If I
Yeah. Okay, Prabhuji, I'll try to.
continue. Right now we can hear you clearly.
Okay, Prabhuji. So then Prabhuji said, shared about the Chit Shakti, and he shared about this spiritual potency, that this spiritual potency of Krishna also considered to have three aspects, and which is mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. He mentioned that the first aspect of spiritual potency is the Sandhini Shakti, the second is the Samvit Shakti, and the third is the Hladini Shakti. So he said the Sandhini Shakti of the Lord is that part of the potency which is responsible for the existence of Krishna, or we can say the Krishna's form. So Krishna's form is actually, this Sandhini Shakti is responsible for Krishna's existence and Krishna's form. Then he shared about the Samvit Shakti. He said the knowledge, it's a knowledge potency. So Samvit Shakti is that knowledge potency of the Lord through which Krishna understands himself, and he causes others to understand him as well. So if we try to understand the Krishna, if some devotee is trying to understand the Krishna, it is only possible through Samvit Shakti. Then he shared about the Hladini Shakti. So this is that aspect of Chit Shakti, of the spiritual potency, which gives transcendental bliss to the Lord. The Lord has nothing to do with material pleasure. But this Hladini Shakti, it gives transcendental happiness or bliss to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And also it gives bliss to his pure devotees. And his Hladini Shakti is actually known as Radharani, that it is that Shakti which purely give bliss to Krishna. And we all know that how much Radharani actually give bliss to Krishna, how happy Krishna is always to be, surrounded by Radharani or in the company of Radharani. Then he shared that just as the Sandhini Shakti is responsible for Krishna's form, same as Hladini Shakti is responsible, takes the form of Radharani. So this Hladini Shakti manifests in the form of Radharani. And when the Lord expends himself in many different entities, he engages himself, exchanging loving relationship with the living entities, with his devotees. This exchange of loving relationship between the Lord and his devotees, that is manifestation of Hladini Shakti. So this exchange is possible, this loving exchange between the Lord and his pure devotees is only possible by the Hladini Shakti, which is our Radharani. And we also heard in, you also shared many times, and I also heard in some lectures previously, that until you pray to Radharani, until you pray to Radharani, then till then you will not get the mercy of Krishna. Because to approach Krishna, the right process or right way to go through is through Radharani. So until we understand this Hladini Shakti, until we understand or surrender ourselves in the lotus feet of Radharani, we will not be able to understand Krishna. So then Prabhuji shared that Srila Prabhupada has given some very important points in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that it is the Samvit Shakti one can actually understand Krishna. But unless that Samvit Shakti is reinforced by the Hladini Shakti, one cannot actually understand the Lord. So even the Samvit Shakti, which is the cause, which is the knowledge potency of the Lord through which Krishna understands himself, and the pure devotees of Krishna understand, get to understand Krishna, that is also not possible until it is reinforced by the Hladini Shakti. So this Hladini Shakti, which takes a form of, manifest in the form of Radharani, is so important that until this supports or this reinforces the Samvit Shakti, the knowledge potency, no one can understand Krishna. Even Krishna cannot understand himself. Srila Prabhupada mentions that there are three types of knowledge, understanding this material world. First, Swamiji mentioned about the direct knowledge. And second, he mentioned the indirect knowledge. And third is the perverted knowledge. So he started with the perverted knowledge. Perverted understanding is what we have in this material world as conditioned living entities. Our only source of information is our sense perception. And the sense perception tells us that there is nothing beyond this material world. And it can never reveal us the truth of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in the material world, the understanding we have is through our sense perception. So that is why, because we are so much engaged in our sense gratification, we cannot actually understand Krishna, because all we see, all we feel, all we see, all we running after is all because of our sense perception, that we think this thing will give me pleasure, but at the end, after achieving that thing, we feel that no, I'm not happy now, I have to chase some other thing. So this sense perception, this is the actually perverted knowledge. So which is here in this material world. Then he shared about the indirect knowledge. Indirect knowledge, it is a process of negation the sensory perception and trying to understand the absolute truth by speculation. So in this, Prabhupada is actually referring here the knowledge of impersonal Brahman. It is he said that it is only one aspect of absolute Brahman. So here Swamiji trying to explain that this indirect knowledge is for people try to reach those who are interested in impersonal Brahman, that they want to realize that impersonal Brahman, that light, and they think that they can one day merge in that light. But they do not know, this is the indirect knowledge. They do not know that this light is only one aspect of the absolute truth. But the absolute truth is actually Krishna. So the perverted is the one in which most of the people are engaged, because they do not think or imagine anything beyond their sense perception. And indirect is for those who are trying to understand the impersonal Brahman. Then he shared about the most important knowledge, which is the direct knowledge. So this direct knowledge, this is possible because of the Samvit Shakti. As I mentioned, that knowing Krishna is only possible through the knowledge potency, which is Samvit Shakti. Through this one tries to understand spiritual knowledge, and knowing Krishna is only possible by loving the Lord. So this direct knowledge is actually for the pure devotees of the Lord, because they love Krishna, they have the love for Krishna, they want to understand the Krishna. They do not agree with this, that Krishna is an impersonal Brahman. Although they agree, they know that the Krishna, that impersonal Brahman is one aspect of Krishna, but it is not the absolute truth. So this direct knowledge is actually only the pure devotees of the Lord has this direct knowledge, because they want to understand the Krishna by loving Krishna, by worshipping him. So then Swamiji said that if you want to know Krishna, you have to love him, and love means bliss on the spiritual platform. And that bliss is nothing but the Haladini Shakti, which is Radharani. Then he shared a very important point, that why Radharani is so important for us. So our bhakti is, Swamiji mentioned that our bhakti is actually inadequate or lacking when we don't go through Srimati Radharani. And then, when he was explaining the Haladini Shakti, he mentioned that the essence of Haladini Shakti is prema, and the essence of prema, what Swamiji mentioned in the lecture. So I could not understand this. It is way beyond my prema. And the essence of bhav is Mahabhav, and the personification of Mahabhav is Srimati Radharani. So that is actually the identity of Radharani. The personification of Mahabhav, even the essence of Mahabhava, is Radharani. The very name Radha suggests Radharani eternally topmost of the comfort of Sri Krishna. As such, Sri is the medium of transmitting the living entities' service to the Lord. Devotees in Vrindavan, therefore, they take the mercy of Radha. When I joined about how to offer the prasad, and we got to Rakshita Mataji also yesterday mentioned that how you should pray to Krishna. You should always pray that, oh Radha. So is the medium or the source who actually the living entity service to the Lord or the devotees of Vrindavan or devotees. Unless they approach Radharani, you cannot go directly to the Krishna. Krishna will not even recognize you if you do not go through Radharani. So that is why Radharani for us is very, very important. And then I actually heard one lecture of Nitai Sevni Mataji. And Nitai Sevni Mataji mentioned two very Saraswati Thakur says that कृष्ण की पूजा नहीं, हम कृष्ण को प्यार नहीं करते हैं. एक्चुअली हम राधा रानी को प्यार करते हैं, लेकिन हम जिनको प्यार करते हैं राधा रानी, वो कृष्ण को प्यार करती हैं. इसलिए clearly mentioned there that that only because uh, why we worship Krishna. Then Mata also explained that Gaudiya Vaishnav. So the one who follows ISKCON, the one who follows Krishna, Gaudiya Vaishnav. So Mataji said that the one who worship Vishnu called Darshan, but those who worship Radharani are. So that is why our this Gaudiya Vaishnav uh, 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 worship Radharani. But as Mataji also mentioned that Radharani, because Radharani worships Krishna, that is we worship Krishna. So then Prabhuji, then Swamiji actually mentioned that it's so important to worship Radharani because understanding Krishna without the mercy of Radharani is not possible. Because Krishna always thinking about Radha, and he's also in. If you do not, then he will not accept your services.
Hare Krishna.
And it's yes, Prabhuji, am I audible?
For me, the voice is breaking a lot. What about for other devotees? Is it breaking for everyone?
Yes.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Prabhuji. My internet is very,
I
very
think
bad.
you'll have to make a recording yourself of this and upload it so that we can all hear nicely.
Sure, Prabhuji. I'll try. I'm just repeating the words of Prabhuji, Maharaji's word. I don't have anything, but I will surely do this and upload. Yeah, sorry, Prabhuji, for today. Sorry.
Thank you, Maharaji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay. No, we heard a little bit, but a lot of it got cut also. Okay. So anybody else would like to share anything? On Radhashtami, all the devotees are sharing. So Rakshita Mataji was sharing about Radhashtami, what lectures she heard. So Natasha Mataji, you want to share?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam.
Dandavat Mataji.
Prabhuji, Jai Shri Prabhupada. I heard some lectures, but I did not make any notes. So I will just be sharing from my memory. Or if you want me to share later on, I can do that. If somebody else has prepared notes from lectures and would like to share.
Totally your wish, Mataji. I think if you feel like sharing, you can just go ahead and share.
Okay, Prabhuji, I'll just share some few points that were striking to me, that I think a lot of things about Radharani, as we understand, are very complicated to understand. Radharani is a very complex subject, and her tattva is very, very hard to understand. And I was hearing Radhanath Maharaj's lecture, and he gave a very nice analogy that imagine the sky. It's so vast. So it's not easy for a small bird to cover the whole expanse of the whole sky. But so similarly, Radharani, her substance, her tattva is very, very difficult for us to understand completely. And we are just a small bird, but it doesn't mean that a small bird cannot fly in the sky. So the bird should still enjoy the flight and try to cover the sky and fly as much as possible. So similarly, we cannot understand Krishna completely, and Krishna says that he cannot understand Radharani completely. So we are in no position really to understand her, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't try or try to discuss about her. We should still enjoy discussing. So a couple of points that I I heard one of the lectures from actually His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj. He gave it at ISKCON Atlanta. So maybe Rakshita Mataji might have heard that also. It was organized by Amrendra Prabhu. Um, the way he opened up that lecture was by saying that he says this is his favorite story to discuss. He mentioned that he was traveling in a train one time in India, and he was reading Srimad Bhagavatam, and there was a very beautiful picture of Krishna on the cover of Srimad Bhagavatam, and he was reading it. And there was this lady sitting across from him, and the lady looked very educated, and she was staring at the book, staring at the cover of the book. And he could see that she wanted to talk to him. She wanted to ask him something, but she was controlling herself. But after a while, she could barely contain herself, and she asked her question, and Maharaj could see that she was bursting to ask something. So, and this was an unexpected, he said, because he was expecting some philosophical question or something related to Bhagavad Gita or the topics of Bhagavatam. But instead she said, why does God have to be a male? Why does God have to be a male? So he said, I was completely taken aback by what she said. And he could sense some antagonism in her voice, like, little bit of distrust, or that not a very submissive, but like a challenging attitude in her voice. So he tried to answer her, and he said this. He explained his answer to everybody, and he said, so he said, the first thing that came to my mind was, madam, it's not my fault. I'm just reading the word of God, Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. But then he slowly started explaining to her. So she said, yes, but why does it have to be a male? So he explained to her what the male and female mean in material world versus spiritual world. And he said, that in material world, there is this gender, male and female. There is this understanding. But that gender is because of the body. And in spiritual world, there is no, there is no material body as such. So the concept of gender really does not exist. So and our gender keeps changing because we are spirit soul. Our gender changes depending on whatever birth we take, and completely out of our control. So, and in reality, there is only one Purush, which is God, which is Krishna. And Purush doesn't mean in the same sense that we understand Purush. Purush basically means the enjoyer. And everybody else is Prakriti, or the enjoyed. You can call it feminine counterpart. Doesn't mean female in the same sense that we understand, but you can understand it as enjoyer and enjoyed. So there is only one Purush, and there is who's the enjoyer, and everybody else is enjoyed. But he said it will be a very, very mundane, incomplete understanding to think that, oh, God is a male. Actually, if God is complete whole, complete absolute truth, it can be neither, it has to be both male and female. It cannot be just male or just female. And so that's where the concept of Radharani comes in, that the complete whole, the whole absolute truth has to be both enjoyed and enjoyed at the same time, has to be both male and female at the same time, has to be cannot be just even in mundane understanding, it cannot just be, you cannot just say God is male. So he said that's what Prabhupada propounded when he started ISKCON. He made sure that there is not just Krishna by himself, there is not just Radharani by herself, because he said, even though we are Gaudiya Vaishnavas and we are, our Aradhya Bhagwan is actually, our Ishwar is actually Radharani. We are worshipping her. But he said we cannot just have Radharani's deity, because people are very have very low level of thinking, and when they see a lady by herself, they just think of enjoying her. So there has to be Krishna with him. So that's why, all our deities, we have Radha Madan Mohan or Radha Gopinath or Radha Govinda, there is always Radharani there. So, and Radha is always the same name, and Krishna's name keeps on changing, but Radharani always has to be there. So Radha and Krishna both together complete the whole absolute truth, the energy and the energetic. It cannot just be the energetic without the energy, and energy will not be anything without the energetic. So they both have to be there. They cannot be separated from each other, just like you cannot take away the heat of the fire. It won't be called fire if it's not hot. You cannot take sweetness out of sugar. It won't be sweet unless sugar won't be called sugar unless it's sweet. So sweetness of the sugar cannot be separated from it. So similarly, Radharani and Krishna are always together. They cannot be separated. And Mataji nicely discussed how Radharani is the source of all energies. She's Samvit potency, she's the Aladini potency, the pleasure giving potency, the knowledge giving potency. Everything comes from Radharani. All the various energies, whether it's even the Mahamaya, Durga Devi expansion comes from Radharani. All the Lakshmis come from Radharani. Bhumi Devi, everybody, all the queens of Dwarka, they all are expansions from Radharani. So he explained all these things. And then this is a very nice point that I liked about this parampara, about our parampara that we are following, that in this tradition, if you see, if you understand Radharani's close associates, right? There are Sakhis and there are Manjaris. So the Manjaris are very, very close associates of Radharani. They take care of Radharani. They are in service of Radharani, her servants. And they have actually nothing to do with Krishna at all. They're just taking care. Radharani is their Lord and they're taking care of her. Because Krishna is dear to Radharani, they accept Krishna as well. So in Rajdham, yes, they are in Nikunj, they are taking care of Krishna by taking care of Radharani. So their main goal is they're not as much concerned by Krishna as they are with Radharani. That's their prime goal, to serve Radharani. Now, all our acharyas that have come in our line, if we look at their eternal relationship with Supreme, it's that of Manjaris, right? Roop Manjari is Srila Roop Goswami. Nain Mani Manjari is Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj. So in this way, they're all Manjaris. They're all eternal in their eternal relationship. They're Manjaris, which means that their main goal is to serve Radharani. But Radharani is such a complex tattva that you cannot just give Radharani to mundane people who have, no basic understanding, because they just have material concepts and will be looking at her just like any other lady. So that's why we propagate about Krishna. And once somebody has some prelim understanding of Bhagavad Gita, of Krishna's teachings, and some understanding of the teachings given in Bhagavatam, then they can get to that level where they can understand about Radharani. That's why in a lot of revealed scriptures, actually, Radharani's is covered. Her knowledge has been covered because she's not somebody that can be shared with just anybody. It's very, very difficult to share about her with anybody. Even Krishna does not understand her completely. So we have no qualification at all to understand or to talk about her. And it's just supreme mercy of our acharyas, of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that he gave her name to us to take, every day so many times. And even in the Mahamantra, the name is not directly given as Radhe because we have no qualification. So the name was given as Hare. But Radha name is most dear to Radharani. That's why all our deities, Radha is the name that stays constant. But again, because this Hare Krishna Mahamantra is given to common men, common people, the name Hare has been given because we don't want to introduce the concept of Radharani just to any common man. We just give them the mantra so they can at least be saying her name and start getting purified. And one day, when they come to that level that they can talk about Radharani or understand her, then the more knowledge will be revealed to them. And then in one of the other lectures by His Grace Rukmini Krishna Prabhu from ISKCON Dwarka. Actually, I've never really heard him before, but it was it was exceptionally beautiful lecture. He said, he said many different things, which I did not make notes, but one of the things that stuck with me is that she's Vrindavaneshwari. She's the Ishwar of people of Rajdham, of Vrindavan. She is somebody who's sought by Krishna himself. He cannot understand her, so he comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And her name we have been given to take daily, and we take her name with negligence. We don't, what qualification do we have to take her name? And we take her name without proper reverence and awe. Like, we should be really focused and thinking about every single time we say Hare, but we just flippantly and ignorantly take the name without any proper focus. And when you understand what an exalted position she has, that humbles you to think that, wow, we've been given this name to take every day and we're not focusing on it properly. There were many other things, Prabhuji, I cannot remember too much. So this is all I have to share. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. Very nice. Okay. Anybody else would like to share? So actually, Natasha Mataji, Rakshita Mataji was also sharing from Maharaj's lecture only. She said Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj's lecture. She was sharing from that. And then I think you mentioned about Rukmini Krishna Prabhu. He is actually temple president of ISKCON Panjabi Bagh. Very wonderful devotee. Very serious. You see his lectures, very beautiful. So, okay. Any other devotee would like to share anything? Okay, thank you, Mataji, for sharing. So, anyone remembers what we were reading from Bhagavatam? Maybe we can continue that. We have 10 more minutes.